This is the I Read Comic Books podcast. I am your host, Mike Rappin. With me this week are three fantastic human beings: Nick White.
Hey.
Kait Lamphere.
Hi.
And Adam Ferris of The Good Fight comic. Adam, how are you? Welcome to the show. This is the first time you've ever been on. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, hi, I'm great. Thanks for having me. My name is Adam Ferris. I'm the founding editor of The Good Fight. The Good Fight is a comic anthology taking a stand against hate and bigotry, racism and bigotry.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, all of the proceeds are going to the Southern Poverty Law Center.
Awesome.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Southern Poverty Law Center. They are an organization kind of like the ACLU, which where they help change laws. But one of the things that they do that really attracted us to them is they help directly victims of hate crimes. So people that need medical help, law help, financial assistance, things like that, they help those people directly. And that was really appealing to us because this feels like a really personal book in terms of stories and everything and perspectives. So it just seemed like the perfect charity to throw all of the proceeds at.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
We're super happy to have you here. I'm glad we were able to make like a recording happen, while you guys are in the middle of your Kickstarter. Or I guess this is being released in the middle of the Kickstarter.
Yeah.
So could you tell us a little bit about like what The Good Fight is and what you guys are striving for? I know you've got a ton of different creators, but I'll let you speak to that a little bit.
Yeah. So we have 42 stories, all different perspectives. It's really interesting because there's a lot of different views going on about how to handle racism. And one of the things that we really clung to early on was that this is going to be a really smart book about it and a peaceful book. We're not antagonizing, the other side or hate groups or anything like that. We're definitely taking a stand and saying it's wrong to, be a racist, to be a bigot, to be a misogynist. But we're not like we should run out into the streets and hit them with baseball bats or anything like that. So,
Gotcha.
It's more about what can we do with our minds and our brains and to change things that are more lasting and has a longer effect. Did I answer that?
Yeah, no, that sounds great. I didn't want to interrupt you by any means. So you said you were the founding editor on this book. Could you tell us a little bit about what that means as like a big anthology? Because we've spoken with a couple people who have worked on anthologies before, but I mean, everyone is different.
Yeah, so it's always kind of weird. I see now how you kind of label the roles of everyone involved in an anthology, and we weren't really sure how to do that for a minute. I considered myself just the glue at one point where I was just like, all right, you talk to this person and you talk to that person. But so I'm the founding editor. So I guess essentially it stemmed from my idea of creating this anthology. So that's what makes me the founding editor. But I have what we call a story editor, which is Danny Lohr. Danny is editor of The Wilds from Black Mass Studios, which is a great book. Yeah, really good book. And also edits a magazine called Syfy. And Danny is the story editor, so they go over all of the scripts. And we have also worked together on kind of like green lighting what scripts come in and what ones don't make it, which is a really huge task, especially on an anthology about social awareness and everything. So it's actually got really trying at some points, but so they help me with that. And then I also have Michael Perlman, which is our project manager, and he was the assistant on Where We Live from Image Comics. He basically is our hub, which he helped bring on a lot of the creators. He helps us communicate with all of them efficiently. He has these excellent spreadsheets that keep us up to date on what creators where creators are at with each of their stories and things like that, and it's just wonderful to have him. And I am a totally unorganized person, so to have an organized person on my team is just amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Nick, Kait, feel free to jump in. Otherwise, I'm just going to keep talking.
Yeah, no, Nick had a really good point in the show notes. Did the public's reaction to Where We Live and then also Love is Love, did that influence your decision to make this anthology?
That is a really good question. Because at first I thought, well, no, I don't think it did. But then actually, I think they actually did, because we are seeing more of these anthologies, and I've gotten both of them, before this, and I think it's just what we do now, right? It's just part of comic books now, and to say that they didn't really direct me, I think is wrong, because they certainly started something, and I suspect that we're going to get more anthologies like Love is Love, Where We Live, The Good Fight. There's going to be more and more that are not only contributing to what comics are and how we consume them, but what they do for the world, to make it better. There's also this Nightmare Kills Fascists, which is a politically horror-based one. There's more and more out there, but yeah, that's a really great question, because I think it did actually influence me.
In the same vein, in terms of dealing with these other projects like Where We Live and Love is Love, did you find yourself turning to the people who worked on those projects for advice in terms of bringing together an anthology, or is an anthology the sort of thing that you've actually had some experience with?
Yeah, absolutely. So I knew early on, because I've done very small roles in anthologies, that I did not have the know-how to fully create a bigger anthology. So I immediately turned to some people that I knew that did. The very first anthology that I was on was called Unlawful Good, and it was put together by Heather Antos. So I ran straight to her once I knew that this was going to happen, and I'm like, what do I do? And she was amazing and helped me out a lot very early on, helped me find some of the initial creators. She was the one that connected me with Mark Waid. Mark Waid's script was actually the very first script that I had gotten in my hands for this book. Yeah. So then it was like, okay, I think we have something here. We can use this, to get, some bigger names as well. So, but yeah, and then I also have actually on my team too, Eric Palicki, which he's done some anthologies himself. He is helping us out with the Kickstarter. So he's running the whole Kickstarter because he's a Kickstarter guru. So there's, and then connecting with Michael Perlman was just amazing. He already has the structure on how to physically put it all together from Where We Live, and this is his second anthology, but he's got it down already. So to have him there to be able to do that, and if it weren't for reaching out and asking for help with people that I've already known and networked with, there's no way this thing would have happened.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
How did this get started?
It got started August 12th of last year. I was watching the chaos in Charlottesville happen, and like a lot of people, I was just kind of sick to my stomach over it. And late that night, once everything had calmed down, I was just angry, and I said, if anybody wants, on Twitter, I tweeted, if anybody wants to create an anthology against white supremacists, I'm down. That's all I said. And what I was thinking was that I just wanted to draw one of the stories in there like normal. And then by the next day, I had hundreds of responses of people who are like, yeah, let's do this. What do we do next? And then I realized that I guess I am now the editor instead. So,
well, we know we know from like the ashcan that you sent us, which thank you by the way, like that's beautiful, and I think if anybody out there wants to read this, you guys are making this available, or am I speaking out of turn?
No, yeah, we will be. All you got to do is reach out to us at Good Fight Comic on our Twitter, or you can reach me personally at my Twitter at Adam_Ferris_art. I will happily email you a digital copy of the ashcan.
Yeah, we know from the ashcan, like you've contributed to this on top of editing this. Like, what's that been like, I guess?
Yeah. So I definitely, being an artist, I wanted to contribute art into this anthology as well. So we had 2 stories that we had pretty early on, and they were direct stories from the Charlottesville stuff, and we wanted to put that in the ashcan because it kind of shows the beginnings of the Good Fight. Now, the Good Fight really like branches out from there. It's not all about Charlottesville by any means. Very little of it actually is, ultimately, I would say. But to be an artist on one of the stories was just amazing. It was also really scary. I got to be careful what I draw, how I draw it. I'm literally drawing some white supremacists in this story, and you don't want to make them look great, but they are a bunch of clean cut fellows, like from what we see.
Right.
It's like really hard to. So all you got to do is just go for realism, to like, how do you see things? And so as an artist, and I'm sure some of these writers can attest that it can be a difficult task when we're dealing with this kind of thing.
Yeah, so I didn't know what an ashcan was when Mike sent this to us. Do you know the history of ashcans, or what they're used for now, or how you came about making one, deciding to make one?
I don't know the history. That's a really good, actually, I never even thought of it. But and I've actually talked to a few different people, and everybody always seems to have a little bit understanding of what an ashcan is. But an ashcan is more like a preview book. So our full anthology is 42 stories in full color, but we wanted to promote it a little bit, especially during New York Comic Con. So we made 2 of the stories, got them done without the color. So we just wanted to do it in black and white so we could keep the print costs down. Most ashcans are black and white for that reason. And then I had 325 of them printed up, and I took them with me to New York, and we handed them out for free just to help promote. So you could get just a bit of a taste as to what this is like. It's ultimately just a preview book.
Yeah, I thought it was really neat.
Thank you.
I work in publishing, so I see some of those early marketing materials, and it's really interesting the way that there's a variety of different ways to promote something like this early on. So it was really neat to see the comic book version of some of the things I've seen in book publishing. Yeah,
it was fun and a little stressful because we weren't totally ready for it. But we were like, we can do this. We got time. We can do this. And then all we had to do was pay for like expedited printing because we cut it so close.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah. But it worked out. It was okay.
Yeah, it looks great. I mean, I only have the PDF, but
yeah. Maybe this is too much of like a how the sausage is made sort of inside baseball-esque question. But I was wondering, obviously, as you pointed out, with the ashcan, the current stories are strictly pencils and inks. As you just explained why. I was wondering in the future when, as the promotional materials discuss, you're going to have full color for all of the stories, how you're going to handle that. Has everybody already been told, like, find your own colorist? Or are you dealing mostly with artists who self-color anyway? Or, I mean, that's just the sort of thing that, it had me wondering, like, logistically, how's the coloring situation being handled?
Yeah, it's anthologies are interesting because there's no like a golden rule book. It's a lot more complex than just a single issue comic. Totally. You just have so many different working gears, and then you have with all these creators, every creator has a way in which they prefer to work or right. Who they work with. So it's kind of a case by case basis. When we sent out invites or took submissions, one of our big questions was always like, if you're a writer, do you have an art team? And who all does that include? And so yeah, some people came with, I have my writer, my line artist, my colorist, and my letterer. And then some people come with, less than that, or some stories came with just the script, and we got to fill in. But then on the other end, it works out because you'll have like colorists that are just like, hey, I really like the idea of this, I want to color some stories. And then we just ask them like how many pages they're willing to do, and then we just see where it all fits. And it's kind of like putting together a big puzzle that will drive you insane.
I guess when this Kickstarter is finished, I know you said you've got like some stuff already submitted, some things in pencils and inks, like things are constantly in progress. And I know it's a little bit before everything's even started when we're recording this, but how much of the anthology do you think will be finished by the time like the Kickstarter ends, and like what's your expected rollout for things? I know maybe I'm asking questions a bit too far in advance, but for people that are interested, maybe they want to know like when can they expect it for Christmas? Should they expect it next year?
Yeah, so the Kickstarter, the book is still being made, as you said. We are planning on having all of the art and lettering is the final stage, done early January. So, and then you have to have, a couple of weeks for the designer to put it all together. And then you have to send it out to a printer. They'll send you a proof. You approve or disapprove if something's messed up. Sometimes a page is upside down or something. And then it takes a few weeks after that to get it all printed and shipped back to us. So we're thinking, it'll actually get in your hands probably about, this is actually a really good question for probably Eric, but I think we said April.
Okay.
Is when you'll actually receive it.
Yeah, I mean, by no means am I like holding you to this.
Well, yeah, exactly.
I generally,
on
the
record, so
yeah.
Great. Now I'm getting it tattooed on my forehead.
Yep.
For added pressure.
Yeah. No, I mean I honestly that sounds like a great turnaround given the number of people collaborating. I know that some anthologies that I've contributed to in the past, it's like, well, the turnaround time went from 4 months to 8 months because some people just couldn't get things in on time, or you had problems with printing. I remember there was one anthology I backed that it was getting printed in like Korea or China or something, and then there was like a labor strike, and then there was a tropical storm, and so it was like, oh yeah, well, we just can't get these books literally out of the dock that they're sitting in China. And I understand like that stuff happens literally out of your control. But no, that sounds like great turnaround time. I mean, for when this Kickstarter is going to be starting, or it's going to be running through November.
Alternatively,
really cool.
Mike just gave you some perfectly good excuses to use if things get, held up and you need a line.
Quote unquote acts of God. Can't help it. Sorry. Yeah. I think I may have backed that book as well, just saying.
Oh, okay. So
I don't want to say what I wanted to say.
Your books are just sitting next to each other on that boat. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm curious about your background in art. I think that you're from the middle of Michigan.
I am, yeah.
I am also from the middle of Michigan and also sort of went into a design field. So I'm wondering what your education or training was like before you got into comics.
Oh, man. So not a lot of formal education. I think the last formal thing I did was independent art in high school. But I did that for like 3 years. But after that, while I was in high school, I knew I wanted to do comics. I've always loved comics ever since before I could read, and it's what got me reading. And of course, I loved drawing them. And basically, the story goes, I went to a portfolio review when I was 18. This was like, I don't know, 1999 or something like that. And I got like so crushed. I got put down so hard.
Oh no.
Yeah, and it just like crushed me, and I was like, I'm never going to draw again. Like, I was 18, I didn't know how to take it, like I was like, well, I guess I'm out. And I didn't draw like for, I don't know, close to 15 years or something like that. And then,
oh man,
yeah, and then one day I just decided to just kind of start doodling, I guess. And my wife was like, you might have something here. Why don't you like try harder at it? So I did. So I tried harder, and then I realized that my only mistake with art was taking criticism too harshly. So I started practicing pages, and I started going to more and more conventions and getting feedback from professionals. And at first it was rough again, harsh criticism against it. And then every time I just took it in, I'm like, all right, I'm just going to fix that, whatever they said it was. And every time it just got better and better, until eventually I went to Ryan Stegman. Hopefully this doesn't put him on blast and everybody takes their stuff to Ryan Stegman, but I know Ryan Stegman pretty well now because he's from Michigan as well. And but yeah, he was helping me out a lot, and eventually it just got to the point where he was just like, I think you got it now. You just need to just do repetition. Just keep making the pages, and you'll eventually get there. So now I quit bugging him about that, and we just hang out. But
that's cool.
Yeah. But and I think that's important for other creators to kind of not be jerks to aspiring creators, and help them where they struggle. And hopefully those aspiring creators can hear the criticism that's constructive criticism, and go from there. So that's really my education on art, is just listening to other people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome. I think every single person's, entry to comic books is a totally different story from like the, like hundreds and hundreds of minutes of things that I've listened to and people at different panels and online and podcasts and stuff. So, that's really cool. I'm glad that you found a friend in comics on top of it, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm always interested to hear people's path into their creative field, because it's like Mike said, it's just completely different if you're self-taught or if you go to a big school or something.
Yeah, with comics, I think it's really important for all aspiring creators to keep in mind is there's no guaranteed way in. You can't go to school and then graduate like the Kubrick school and graduate and say, okay, well, I'm going to go get a comic job now. It doesn't work that way. They will absolutely help you, like give you some for real knowledge that you really should have. And it will really, really help you, like those schools, but there's no guarantee in any of it. It's really up to you, and you just have to push yourself really hard.
Especially as an artist. I know that at least in the industry that I'm in, we freelance a lot of the art, the actual like illustrations that we have done, and I imagine that comics is pretty much the same.
Yeah, definitely. It's hard. There's like, I think they said there's 800 people that work professionally in comics, and that's all they have to do. But then there's like thousands of people that want to get in. It's super competitive. And you just have to be your best and just keep bringing it and never let any of it get you down. Just keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, that's what makes like anthologies like this super important, though, because it gives people maybe a way to break in or say like, hey, I've got 8 pages in this book. You can actually see that I can deliver something, and here's what it looks like, right? Or here's what it sounds like, or based on how it's read or colored or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. That's hugely beneficial. I was more or less just practicing and just wanting to get better until I finally saw Heather Antos's post, like looking for more artists for her first anthology. And I was just like, all right, I'm just going to try it. I don't know if I'm ready, but I'll just try it. And I got in, and that was hugely beneficial to me. I did not see that coming. I was now able to go up to like other writers and be like, yeah, I had a story in this book, and they're like, oh really, I heard of that book, and then they would give you more of a chance. And yeah, it's just keep putting stuff out there, and if it sucks, that's okay. Just, I look back at my older stuff now and I'm like, but yeah, just keep going.
So do you think you'll ever, or have you done a full length issue or trade book before?
Yeah, actually I did do a full issue with Kelly Bender. It's called Indigenous. We put it on Kickstarter. It was successful and it got out there. And then right now, actually, I'm in the middle of drawing a graphic novel, 64 pages. I'm drawing the whole thing, so it's not an anthology. It's for Source Point Press. It's written by Jason Brooks. And it's called Parallel. So you'll see that sometime next year. So I've done anthologies. I'm doing a graphic novel, and I've done a full issue. So,
do you have a preference as to what you like to work on?
Oh, anthologies are great because they're 8 pages and you're done.
Okay, yeah.
No, I'm kidding. Yeah, I don't know. They definitely all have a different feel to them. I think I like the single issues the most because 20 pages about is pretty nice because you get to really fully explore. You get to, like, for a lot of artists, they say that, it takes 4 to 6 pages before you really hit your stride with what that art is going to look like in that book. So that's kind of the downside with anthologies is by the time you're like, all right, I got it. It's, you're done.
Yeah.
But, with single issues, you kind of catch your stride, and then you can be like, all right, at least 3/4 of this book I'm going to be really happy with.
Do you ever go back and redraw some of those pages then for anthologies?
It depends on the time. Like if there's a tight deadline, no. If I have time and I'm unhappy with something, then yeah. It also depends on the editor, what the editor likes, dislikes. The fastest I had to do an anthology story, it was 8 pages, and I had 9 days to do it, and I was penciling and inking them.
Wow.
So there wasn't a lot of time for screw ups, and
Jeez.
Time for anything.
Yeah. I just saw the book actually, and I was like, wow, I hardly remember drawing these pages. I did them so fast.
Did it so fast.
This was me, apparently. Yeah.
Yeah, I've had projects like that myself. Lay out this book in 4 days.
Yeah.
3 months later, here's that book. Wait, what book?
But that's how it goes. You got to be ready for that. You don't always get a big cushy amount of time to do whatever you want.
Yeah. So are you doing all this in the evenings? Do you have like a 9 to 5?
Yeah, I do have a 9 to 5 and a family, and
oh my gosh,
I don't really sleep a lot anymore.
Right.
And, yeah. So there's a lot of late nights, and being an editor is interesting right now because this is my first editorial role. So there's lots and lots of emails all the time, which is a little maddening at times, but yeah.
Yeah, thank goodness for cell phones.
Yeah, maybe.
Smartphones specifically.
Yeah.
I was wondering if it was possible. I know that we've been speaking about your role and your capacity as an artist. I was wondering if you could elaborate on your collaboration with, is it Mark Ranner or Rayner? I mean, we make it a big policy on this show to mispronounce people's names all the time. So
I'm afraid I'm not going to be too much help because I haven't talked to him on the phone or in person. But I think it's Rayner. I think it's Rayner. Okay. Yeah. We have only spoken, just like on Messenger and email. So yeah, the collaboration with him was he really wanted a story in the anthology.
Okay.
And he was like, I have a few ideas. So he sent me like synopses of those ideas.
Sure.
And,
yeah.
Yeah. And one of them really stuck out to me, and it was the one we ended up going with because he is a a Twilight Zone writer for the comic, and this one particular one was very Twilight Zone-esque, and I was like, yeah, please, we got to do this one. It's just so cool. Like, and I'm a huge Twilight Zone fan, so, and then I loved it so much. I was just like, this has got to be the one I draw. I just have to. So I was like, can I please draw this one? Please, please, please. And if not, that's cool. I'll get somebody else for you. But he's like, no, yeah, let's do it. So he's really pro. Like, he did this script, and we felt like that there was really nothing that we had to edit from his script. And it was just like right there, and boom, and perfect. And so then unfortunately it's not the coolest story, but there wasn't a lot of collaboration with me involved. He did give me free reign on some of the characters. So I don't mind spoiling the ashcan a little bit because we're just throwing it out there, but there are monsters in the story. So he let me design the monsters, which I love drawing monsters. So I went really crazy on that, I felt. And it was just that was a lot of fun to create parts of that. Some of that story was really hard to draw, though, because of the negativity that we had to display in the book, as it's based on the protests in Charlottesville. So, but towards the end of that story, it did get more fun to draw.
I was going to say, when I finished that, I was like, this is something totally like Twilight Zone, Black Mirror, where you've got this twist and it goes from something maybe relatable or whatnot to becoming out there and weird. And yet it also kind of had that Twilight Zone kind of under the surface morality going on. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lesson to be learned, but it's not overt. It's not in your face. But there's always that sort of, like, be careful what you wish for. And I also kind of had that Black Mirror twist of, like, isn't technology great / isn't technology terrible? And does the betterment of technology necessarily mean the betterment of humanity? So I really liked that part of it too.
Yeah, absolutely. It definitely blows up in the character's face and gives you some self-reflection, I guess. Yeah.
But based on the description in the ashcan, I mean, not all the stories have like a pure sci-fi twist. Like, they're from all ranges, right? Yeah, we have all kinds of stories. One of the things that I put out very early on for the writers to kind of help direct them when they submitted was I wanted it to be genre free. So you can put your story into any genre that you want, just to make it be fun. I didn't want an entire book that was just depressing, like slice of life stories, because this is kind of a depressing topic, right? So totally.
And I feel that a lot of the people that are going to be purchasing this book already are against racism, probably, and we don't need to beat them over the head that just look how depressing racism and bigotry is. So I wanted to make it a fun read as well. Now, there are a couple stories that will just like hit you in the gut and they're over. But for the most part, I mean, yeah, we have like stories about aliens with like space people, and we have a Western. We actually have a couple stories that are actually drawn like very cartoony like, and they'll actually make you laugh. Like, I laughed out loud reading these things, but it still drove the point home as to what they were making, so I thought that was incredibly creative to be able to do that, to make you laugh and still give you a lesson. That's a really tough thing to do. But so yeah, there's all sorts of feelings, ups and downs in this book that we put you through.
Cool.
Go ahead. You've mentioned how much time and effort this has been taking, and how much little sleep you've been getting. So I'm wondering if this has largely been a good experience, and if you'd do something like this again.
It's largely been a good experience. I would say that I'm pretty in touch with the world around us. You know, I stay up to date on news and current events and everything. And for someone in my position, it can get it gets hard, you know, to deal with that, especially on your own. And to have this huge group of creators supporting these ideas with me, and every day I'm talking about these ideas, and we've turned this book into more of a tale of hope and resistance, that it gives me hope, you know, and I feel better about a lot of this stuff. Like, even though it doesn't seem like the world is getting much better, I feel that there's a large amount of people that want to make it better, and that makes me feel good. And I hope that anybody that reads this book feels that same way, that people have your back. And so would I do it again? I don't know. Yeah, it's been largely good, but the reason I don't know if I would do it again is because I do want to, my personal goal as a comics creator is to be an artist and just work in the comics industry as an artist. But you know, this is taking a year plus, you know, mostly out of my time to be able to solely focus on that. So, which I'm happy with. That's fine. I think this book needs to be made, and I think this book is going to be amazing. But I don't know if I'd do it again. Not yet, anyway.
Right.
Might need some time away from it first.
Well, nonetheless, I mean, this book sounds incredible. I'm really excited to check it out when it's out. Like, really, when you know, providing there aren't any shipping delays from China or anything like that. But but yeah, I guess like this almost feels like a good place to wrap up. So, Adam, where can people get a hold of you? Where can people find this awesome Kickstarter and everything like that?
You can get a hold of me on Twitter. I am Adam_Ferris_art. Or you can follow The Good Fight itself, which is at Good Fight Comic. You can also find, if you want to see some of my art, it's easier to see it on my Instagram, which is Mr_Ferris. Yeah, November 12th is when the Kickstarter will launch. We're going to have lots of great rewards. If you're an art collector, you're really going to love it. Yeah, that's about it. Ask us for an ashcan. We'll get it to you.
Yeah, thanks. No, this has been super cool. Like I said, really look forward to this. I really love the ashcan. I'm glad we were able to make this happen. So yeah, I guess we'll wrap up with our regular show credits here. You can follow the rest of us on Twitter. You can follow Nick at Death Star Plans. You can follow Kait at Kait L Fear. You can follow me at Mike Rappin, and you can follow the show at IRCB Podcast.
Beyond that, we would encourage you to go check out our Goodreads group. That's the IRCB Goodreads group. Just go ahead and Google it. We have weekly threads, fun discussions. You really won't find another community out there that is more engaged, more positive, and really asking fun and deep questions about comics. And if you did find another group that's like that, forget them. They're nothing to you. And join us. Who cares about them? Beyond that, go ahead and check out ircbpodcast.com. That's our website. We have a pronunciation guide there, which I've conveniently mispronounced likely another name today, so we can add that one to the list. Mm-hmm. And we also have merch, so if you need stickers or t-shirts, or, I mean, you don't need anything else. You just need stickers and t-shirts. I think we've pretty much covered you there.
You can rate and subscribe in your favorite podcatcher. That'll help us get more listeners and better rankings. You can email the show at ircb@destroythesybe.org. And you can subscribe to us on Patreon for exclusive audio, early access, and some pretty sweet stuff.
Infinity Shred does all the music for our show. They are the best band in the universe. Xander, he is a true wizard, and he also edits the show. I want to say thank you to Adam, thank you to Kait and Nick, and double thanks to Adam again for being on the show. We're really excited for this Kickstarter. So until next time, make sure you read a comic and tell someone about it. One more thing, since we did totally forget to do this in the middle of the show. Adam, could you tell us about the cover to this book? Because the ashcan has a really cool black and white cover that was done by Christian Ward, but you, I think, mentioned something's going to be different for the actual book?
Yeah, so Christian Ward actually is, he made us this ashcan cover, which is phenomenal. It's beautiful. Mm-hmm. If you go to our Twitter, you can see it. But actually, just yesterday, he sent us the final cover for publication, which is an entirely different cover. It's in full color. It is astounding. The whole editorial team is just freaking out over it. So I think it's honestly some of Christian Ward's best work. He's the artist on Thor, if you don't know him. He also has done Black Bolt and Odyssey. So yeah, that's amazing. And then we're also actually going to have a Kickstarter exclusive cover from Kayla Valerio. So if you back the Kickstarter, you'll be able to get your choice of the Christian Ward cover or the Kayla cover. Some pretty exciting things.
So you got to go check out the Kickstarter page to at least see those covers, right?
Yeah, definitely. If you like beautiful arts, that's what you're going to get.
Yeah, it sounds amazing. I mean, Christian Ward's art in general is amazing, but this other cover sounds great as well. So yeah, I look forward to checking it out.
Thank you.
Cool. All right. So we'll find a way to insert that into the into the show
we
somehow.
won't. Xander's going to have to find a way.
Yeah, Xander, our wonderful wizard editor, will find a way to make this
not our
work.
Responsibility.
That sounds legit, by the way. Xander the Wizard. That's just that's amazing.
Yeah, I mean his name is actually Xander, but we call him a wizard because he makes us sound wonderful when we mostly sound like idiots. So we love him to death for that.